You guys, I wanted to super quickly, super briefly hop on here and talk about this new stimulus bill that was just proposed that could give you up to $2,000 per month per adult in your family. This bill is completely, totally separate from anything that was proposed before, including the $250 billion stimulus bill that was just added a couple weeks ago that would give additional money to small businesses. This is totally, entirely separate from all of that. So the bill right now, it just barely got announced. Well, it was proposed yesterday, but was announced this morning and is currently sitting in the House of Representatives, which means it's just an initial draft. It's just a proposal. After this, it has to actually go to the Senate, which then gets debated, goes back and forth. And then after that, it has to go to the president to be signed as well. So we're still in the early stages, but the fact that it's been proposed is a fairly good indicator that this could potentially be put into law. A lot of the times this back and forth stuff between the House and the Senate, it goes back and forth quite a while and it takes a long time. But the stimulus bill, the $1,200 check that you received, which my wife and I actually received our $2,400 this morning, so check that off your list. That one only took 3 weeks, which is kind of unprecedented. Usually it does not go that quick. So we'll see how long this takes, but seeing as how that one went through in just 3 weeks, this one may go through fairly quickly as well. I think that Congress kind of senses the urgency. A lot of people are out of work. A lot of people need money. They need some sort of income. And so I think that urgency will potentially make this go through more quickly. Now, obviously, the reason that this bill was even proposed in the first place is because of all the coronavirus stuff. I don't think that anyone really anticipated all of this stuff going on longer than it currently has. And the $1,200 just is not enough to sustain people through the rest of this if it really does continue on, which I think it probably will. Okay, so now the proposed bill states that each American over the age of 16 will get $2,000 per month. And if you're married, that will be $4,000 a month. And also, if you have 1 or 2 kids, that'll be an additional $500 on top of that. And if you have 3 or more children, that'll be an additional $1,500 per month. So that could give you potentially $5,500 per month in free money, in income from the government if this bill were to get passed. Okay, so myself personally, while I believe that something like this will get passed, I don't quite think that it'll be that high. That's a lot of money, and I think that there's going to be some sort of revision to this bill before it gets passed, or even if it does get passed. So maybe anticipate just a little bit less than that $2,000 per person. Okay, now again, this could all change, but this says here that it's proposed for a minimum of 6 months with a potential of 12 months. After that 6-month period, the government's going to reevaluate. They're going to look at the unemployment rates and see if it should be extended for an additional 6 months. The unemployment rate in February was pretty low. March was even lower. I don't think we have official April numbers yet because we're only halfway through April, but I don't think they're going to be good by any means. If the unemployment rate does continue to skyrocket like it has, the government will just reevaluate after that 6-month period and then decide whether or not they will choose to extend for an additional period of time. Okay, the other thing that the bill says is that if it were to pass, it would go into effect 14 days after that point. So realistically, probably if it goes back and forth in Congress and then gets approved and then waits an additional 14 days, the likelihood that you'd even see a check would probably not be until end of May at the very earliest, so probably beginning of June or middle of June. And again, this is assuming this is all approved and signed and all of that. Now, there are a couple stipulations on who gets this money. Your income has to be $130,000 or less to qualify. And then of course, if you make anything over that, it starts to taper off a little bit, but that's $130,000 if you're a single filer. So if you're married filing jointly, then your income limit is $260,000, which is, I think that's double what the previous stimulus package was before. Okay, how exactly will this affect your income? If you're getting free money from the government for 6 months and say you do get the full $5,500, is this going to affect your taxes? And the bill right now in its current form says that this will not affect your taxable income. So in other words, you're not going to have to pay taxes on this money. Again, this is initial draft, but that's what the initial proposal is saying. Okay, now what kind of effects is this going to have on the economy? Let's assume even on average that the average family gets $4,500 per month. And there's about 325 million Americans in the United States. Let's say that, I don't know, 250 million Americans get the stimulus check. I don't know what that math is, but it's a lot of money. What kind of effect is that going to have on the economy? I mean, if this even goes on for 6 months or so, I mean, how many trillions of dollars is that's just going to be added to the national debt? But at this point, who cares, right? Because it's just a number on paper and we don't ever have to pay it back, right? Anyway, guys, again, just super quick, I wanted to go over that. This is all just initial proposal, initial stages. Who knows if this will even get officially put through. I don't know. We'll see and wait and see what happens. But you know, one thing that I worry about is hyperinflation with all of this money just being injected into the economy. And if you want, you can check out my video that I did last week talking about hyperinflation. Check that out. I think it's a good resource for what could potentially happen with the government just printing all this money. So anyway, I will keep you guys posted on what happens and what, follows with this. Until then, stay tuned. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you later.